Hello everybody, welcome to Thursday's Indycar. My name's Gordon Ross. This morning I wanted to say a couple of things about how we fight the new independence referendum or the new independence campaign, whichever it is. There are two competing theories at the moment about what will happen next in the UK. One is that Scotland will eventually have another independence referendum or vote of some kind, and the other one is, and this is gaining a bit more traction, that there will be another snap general election possibly this coming winter. In either case we have an opportunity to campaign for independence, because if Theresa May does call another snap general election as a way of consolidating the support for the Brexit deal, whatever that is, then we have an opportunity to fight that particular general election on a single ticket, on a single issue, which would be separating from the UK. So there is the option there for the independence campaign to switch tracks and to go onto a war footing for general election. Now, before I go down the road of talking about general elections, there's been a little bit of talk about that. What I wanted to say today, and this was the reason I was saying I was going to say this only once, is if you go back in time to 2014 and you look at, for example, Lord Ashcroft's poll, his detailed breakdown of how people voted in the independence referendum and why they voted, what made them vote yes, what made them vote no. Several things come out really strongly. The first one, and the most obvious one, is the currency. The deal breaker for most people during the last independence referendum was the three amigos pretending that we couldn't use the pound. And a lot of people believed it. It was the biggest lie ever told, but everybody believed it because nobody really understood what the difference was between currency and cash. But having said that, we now know that there is going to be a Scottish currency with the new independence offer, and we also know that we will be using pound sterling in the intervening period between us setting up our central bank and getting our own currency going. But the point is, we will be using the pound anyway. We'll be using the British pound first, and then we'll be using the Scottish pound. And that's the one thing that's really changed, and we need to emphasise that when we're fighting on the streets. The second thing that Ashcroft's polling revealed, or one of the major things, was that pensions were the other big fear factor, because the British state very successfully lied to pensioners to say that they wouldn't get their state pensions from the Scottish government. This was an outright lie. There had been an agreement between the two countries that should Scotland vote yes, that the British state would continue to pay the pensions of state pensioners who are currently receiving those pensions, and that the Scottish state would take over when it became independent. Anybody who retired at that point would then get their state pension through the Scottish system. However, that was all bulldozed aside and the lies continued and people believed it. So the second thing that we need to ensure when we're talking to people is that the issue of pensions is buried, because we know that the SNP will arrange for all pensions to be paid by the Scottish Government. There's no question about that. Actually, there never was a question about that. But that needs to be nailed now when you're talking to people on the street, particularly people coming up to pensionable age. I mean, I myself am about 10 years away from it. So it would be good if we can get a little bit of clarity from the SNP on how we approach that when we're talking to people. But these are the two major things that swung it for the no campaign. Their intervention over the pound, which was a very clever ploy. It was a total and utter lie that we couldn't use the pound. All they were saying was that we couldn't use the Bank of England as the lender of last resort. In other words, we didn't have the Bank of England as a guarantor for our bank. That itself didn't stop us using the pound, but people didn't understand that because nobody knew the difference between currency and cash. It was never explained to them, and the British state exploited that to lie, and lie very successfully, and make sure that people were too scared to vote in case they lost the use of the cash. They thought they couldn't use pound notes. That was what they were thinking. Couldn't use pound coins. Load of rubbish. And the other thing I think is worth playing on at the doorsteps, and something to remember, particularly when we're talking to immigrants. And I don't mean immigrants necessarily from abroad, but English immigrants, Europeans as well, who are working here legitimately and have settled here. They need to understand that they won't be asked to leave independent Scotland. Nobody will. Nobody will be deported. There will be no deportations. That was another lie. This time that was perpetrated by the Labour Party activists who were bussed in from England to spread malicious lies amongst the immigrant communities in the working class areas of our cities to say that they wouldn't be safe in independent Scotland. So we had a situation where something like 70% or more, in fact maybe even more than that, of the Polish population of Glasgow, which makes up 40% of the immigrants in Scotland, by the way, but most of the Poles voted no because they thought that they would be deported because they listened to the British state and not the Scottish government, not the Scottish SNP government at the time. So this is another point that we need to drive home now, that everybody who's currently migrated to Scotland will stay here. There will be no deportations. Everybody will get their pension and everybody will be able to use the currency. These lies must be put to rest at the beginning of every conversation because these were the things that stopped it happening the last time. We know that we had reached over 50%. High water mark for the Yes campaign was around about 51%, and that happened approximately 5 days before the actual ballot happened. Then there was the vow. That chopped the knees from underneath the Yes campaign, and it was too late for us to counter it. And even Alex Salmond, in his second interview, where he was arguing against Alistair Darling, he virtually gave up at the end because he knew he couldn't win that one. It was too late to fight it. The lie was too pernicious and people believed it, and he knew that they believed it, and therefore arguing the case against it was futile because Alistair Darling was just confusing everybody so perfectly about the pound. So these are the key battlegrounds for us, and these are the things that we need to take the narrative out there. Somebody was saying that should we campaign aggressively against the British state? Should we use the same kind of scare tactics that they've used against us? The answer to that is yes, but don't do it in response to their scare tactics. In other words, don't reply to something which they are saying. If they're making a statement about something which is total rubbish, it'll be refuted anyway. But don't waste time by arguing back against it, because we're just giving their argument more airtime. We need to make our own arguments. What I was saying yesterday about leading the charge, making sure that it's us that's doing the attacking and forcing the British state onto the back foot. We need to challenge them. We need to get them to defend the Union. The reason why is because they can't defend the Union. They have run out of ammunition. These 3 points that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, those were their major weapons. They've used them up now. They can't use them again. They were a one-shot deal. Everybody now knows that we could use British pounds. Everybody now knows we're getting a Scottish currency. Everybody now knows that their pensions will be paid. And every immigrant now knows that they won't be deported. And we need to keep ramming these facts home all the time. And we have to challenge the unionists. We have to say, defend your union. Tell the voters why they will be better off. What's so great about being in the Union? What is so great about being dragged out of the EU by a bunch of Tories against the wishes of the entire nation of Scotland? And every community of Scotland voted against Brexit. Challenge them on that. Challenge them on why it's fair for Scots to be forced out of the Union when the entire country voted against leaving the European Union. Challenge them on the NHS. They're now saying they're going to have to hike taxes by over £2,000 a year to pay for the English NHS. The English NHS, not the Scottish NHS, which is an entirely separate body set up at the same time but a different body. Even at the beginning, in 1947, the Scottish Health Service was entirely separate, still is, still funded by the Scottish Government, not by the British state. We don't have to pay £2,000 a year to prop up the NHS. That's only in England and Wales, not in Scotland. Scotland can afford its own NHS, it's already affording it. We will cope with it. And when we're independent, we'll have more money to cope with it, because we'll have our resources back. We'll be able to trade our oil and our gas. We'll be able to trade our electricity, our green electricity. We'll be able to generate export income because we protected the jobs by not going with Britain into Brexit. These are the things that we need to take to the population out there. These are the messages we have to ram home. We don't want to waste our time refuting the British state's propaganda anymore. We wasted all our time and energy on the back foot defending ourselves against it last time. We need to attack and attack and attack and make them defend. This is no longer about us justifying ourselves. We don't need to justify ourselves. It's obvious to everybody that independence is the answer to the Brexit damage. It's obvious to everyone that the only option for Scotland to save itself, save its identity, save its produce from being subsumed into an American English state, it's the only answer. There isn't anything else. We need to force the British onto the back foot to try and defend themselves. Let them waste their time and energy on it this time. We will sit on the moral high ground this time, because we know we have everything sorted out. Not only will we have our money sorted out, we'll have our own pound. Not only will we have our own pensions, but everybody in the country who's migrated here will be safe and their jobs will be secure. We also need, incidentally, and I'm going to press the Scottish Government on this in every time I broadcast, we must have firm ship orders for our shipyards from the Scottish Ministry of Defence that will come. We need to have a concrete order book that stretches for the next 25 years into the future, so that all our shipyards, all our repair yards, civilian, military and everything else have a guaranteed future. All those jobs that were supposedly safe with the no vote that we now know was a lie, we need to actually show those men and women who work in those industries they were lied to, and that we are not lying to them, that we have concrete orders and our Ministry of Defence will only order from them, and they will have guaranteed work for the next 25 years. This is how we win this time. We don't sit and defend ourselves and try and justify our position to anybody. We go on the attack and we get the British state to defend themselves. How are you going to get these jobs? How can you defend Scottish shipbuilding? How are you going to get these jobs back on the Clyde when you've taken them away? You're the ones who promised them, now you're taking them away. We, as the new Scottish state, will guarantee those jobs. We'll guarantee the jobs in Rosyth, we'll guarantee the jobs on the Clyde, we will guarantee civilian shipyard orders for places like Ferguson's, we'll guarantee the dry docks down in Greenock will survive, we'll guarantee that those will be used in the new Scottish shipbuilding industry and ship and maritime energy industries that are coming. All of those things are what we have to fight with. We don't need any more to justify ourselves to the British state media. We take the fight to them this time. We challenge them to do better than us. They can't. They're going to take us into Brexit. They're going to wreck our exports. They are going to waste their time trying to firefight the disaster that's being created by English Brexit. So, message today is no more Mr. Nice Guy or Mrs. Nice Guy. No more apologising for things. No more saying, oh well, we'll have sorted that out by the time we're independent. No, we sort it out now. We know what we've got to say. We know what the facts are. And we challenge the British state to defend its own position. Defend the Union. Why is it so good? Tell us what you're going to do to ameliorate the effects of Brexit. How are you going to protect our jobs with Brexit? How are you going to increase our overseas exports with Brexit? How are you going to protect the brands of Scottish produce with Brexit and with an American trade deal? How are you going to do that? Put them on the back foot. Make them defend themselves. Get Ruth Davidson on the television and ask her these difficult questions. How the hell is she going to protect Scottish jobs with Brexit and with an American trade deal which will destroy the identity of Scottish produce, lower your food standards and force the importation of low quality American imports? Ask Ruth Davidson these questions and ask her, how is that going to be better than independence, Ruth? see what she has to say. Let's see how they like being on the back foot for a change. I think we've been too nice for too long. We were far too nice and far too civilised the last time. This time we have to play hardball, and this time every one of us has to go out there. And every time you meet somebody who votes Conservative, or somebody who says, no, I'm a no voter, challenge them. Why is it better to be a no voter? What's the benefit? How are you going to keep your job when Brexit destroys the shipyards, when Brexit destroys the whisky industry? How is Brexit going to be better? How is the Tory party defending your jobs? Answer the question. Then we'll listen to the Tory party. But until they can answer those questions, they have nothing. They have nothing to fight with. Okay, I've had a good rant today, but you understand what I'm saying. It's no longer sufficient for us to apologise for not having an answer to questions, or guddling through and jotting things down in bits of paper that we've heard from other people. We need facts, and we need them now. We need to have something to fight with, because we're either going to be fighting a referendum or a general election, one or the other. The general election might happen to try and blitz out the possibility of another referendum. If that's the case, we're fighting the general election on one issue, and that's independence. And that means the Green Party, the Socialists, the SNP, some of the Labour Party might even join in, actually, as part of the Yes Group, plus GRIP, the grassroots independence people that we are all part of. We are all going to be fighting for independence in a general election. And if we do what we did in 2015 and produce a huge majority of MPs to Westminster, then that's the mandate. That's the demand for independence. That is what the vote will be about. And we state that from the outset, that if we win the general election in Scotland, if we win a majority for pro-independence parties at Westminster, we declare independence right there and then, and we say to them, that's it. End of story. We're not going to any more referendums on this. If we have a general election, that's the decider. No more messing around. That's it. All I have to say for today. I'm feeling combative, and I think we all have to get that way. We all have to stop being on the back foot. Stop publishing British press stories about what Ruth Davidson says. Don't repost them. Don't argue about them. Ignore them. Deny them the oxygen of argument. The more their messages are out there, even if we are arguing with them, the more their message gets seen. We need our messages out there. That's what I was saying to you yesterday. We take our message out there and we blast it and blitz it in every single medium we can find. We do not allow the British press to dictate what the story is anymore. That's what's wrong with everything at the moment. We're always having to answer what the British press is saying, what the Tories are saying in the British press, what Scotland and Union has come up with, the latest spurious load of guff that we've seen this morning. All of those things, ignore them. Don't answer them. Don't acknowledge them. They don't exist. We go on with our messages only, not theirs. No more repeating or reposting stupid, spurious articles about Ruth Davidson and what she said now. Don't take the bait anymore. Let's make the news ourselves. Let's not keep firefighting the Tories' constant drip feed of propaganda. We need to get our own message out, and we need to stop reposting other people's messages. That's what I was saying to you yesterday. It's about reframing the argument in our terms this time. No more British press dictating what the arguments are. No more British state dictating how we should vote and what we should have to respond to, and how we have to defend ourselves and our position. No more. We challenge them, and we challenge them in the press, we challenge them on the streets, the doorsteps, the radio stations, social media, wherever you find them, challenge them to defend the union. We attack and attack and attack. We have got solid ground to stand upon this time. Remember that. We've got solid ground this time. We've got the immigrants behind us this time. We've got most of the pensioners behind us this time, because their pensions have gone down. We have got the sick and the unemployed and the unwell, people who depend on the NHS. We've got them behind us this time. We've got everybody behind us this time. Even the shipyard workers now know that they've been sold out. And we need to help those shipyard workers protect their jobs and show them that independence isn't the bogeyman here. Independence is the safety net for them now. It's the only way we can protect and ensure that they have jobs into the future. They must know that now, that the Ministry of Defence can't be trusted, the British state can't be trusted, but the Scottish state can be, because it's your own people who are actually placing the orders for your ships. It's us. It's not some other country. It's us. It's your friends and relatives. We're going to pay for these ships that you're going to make. You can trust us. You can trust Scottish people. You can trust the Scottish government. You can trust your neighbours and friends who pay taxes here. We want those ships built here in your yards, and we are happy to pay for them, and the Scottish state will order them. See what I mean? We have to drive the narrative. It's positive. It's not negative anymore. No more negativity, no more defending yourself. On the attack, everybody, right now. If you don't know how to do it, join up as a Yes ambassador. Go to Business for Scotland and ask for the online training packages they have. Learn how to do it yourself. And let's go out there and attack them. Let's no more defending ourselves against the British state. Go out there and hit them where it hurts. Hit them where it hurts, where they're weakest, and that is defending themselves. They constantly attack us because they know that we will always respond to their attacks. If we don't respond to their attacks and we attack them back, it forces them into a different position. They have to defend themselves then. The boot is on the other foot. And we now have the whip hand in this situation. For the first time in living memory, we have the upper hand. We need to remember that we need to use it. If somebody hands you a weapon in a fight, you don't sit there and just go, oh, a weapon, what shall I do with this? You don't do that, you shoot it, right? You fire the bullets that you've got to win the battle. You don't sit there and put the gun down and continue to surrender yourself to the opposition. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm off. I've got to do some actual work now. But remember what I said. Let's attack them. Let's not defend ourselves anymore. We've nothing to defend ourselves for. We have the right here. We have the moral high ground. We have the economic high ground. We have the only safe option for Scotland now to save it from a catastrophic Tory Brexit, chaotic Brexit, where everything goes wrong, and even worse, an American trade deal with a lunatic Donald Trump at the helm, he's not going to make it nice for Britain. He's going to drive a bargain that's so hard that Theresa May will have her cap in hand begging for a better deal from him. He's not going to give her a better deal. He's going to drive a deal which is good for America. Britain will just end up having to go along with it. Again, let's force the Tories to justify that. How are they going to protect us against the American aggression in British markets? How are they going to protect the NHS from privatisation? Well, they're not, are they? They're going to invite the privateers in. That's how you attack them. Attack them on the basis of them destroying the NHS and selling it to the Americans. We've got all the ammunition we need. All we've got to do is fire the bullets that we've been handed and stop sitting back, protecting yourself and defending yourself from criticism by the Tory party or by Scotland and Union. They're not strong, they're weak, they're terrified, they're wetting their pants at the moment because we're winning converts. I published figures yesterday which showed that this year alone, Indycar programming has converted somewhere in the region of 296 people from no to yes. And that's just from the programmes, from people watching them or showing the programmes to relatives. It does work. And all we have to do is attack the Tories, attack the record, attack them all the time. How are they going to save us from Brexit? How are they going to protect us? They've got no answers. We don't need to defend ourselves anymore. We've got all the answers. We know we'll have our own currency. We know we'll have our own bank. We know that we will pay pensions. We know that all people who've migrated here will be safe. These things have to be said at the doorstep. Bye for now. See you later.